All right, welcome to a live recording of RealGM Radio. Today, Jared Dubin joins me to predict the top 10 offenses in the league this season. Let's jump in. All right, super excited for this one. Jared Dubin is here. We are predicting the top 10 offenses in the league this season. Jared, the author of Last Night in Basketball, a must subscribe to and read during the season. So, Jared, first, thanks so much for jumping on. It's opening night. We're here. We've got two games tonight, and a bunch of these teams could feature prominently in our in this list that we're about to make here.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. I'm excited for the season. I'm excited to start taking espresso shots at like 10:30 at night so I can stay up for late games. It's gonna be fun.
I'm all in on the espresso shots. I'm all in on the Celsius life. Whatever caffeine there is, I'm open to it. I do not discriminate against any caffeine sources. But I did do this exercise last year in terms of trying to predict the top 10 offenses by offensive rating. I did pretty well. I got 6 of the 10 on that list right, not necessarily in the right order, but I did get 6 of the 10, which I think is probably the more important practice there. I did miss the Cavs though at number 1. Just didn't even have them in my top 10 at all. So that's a big swing and miss by me, but I'm going to try to do better this time. To recap the top 10 offenses last year, it was the Cavs number 1, followed by the Celtics, the Thunder, the Nuggets, the Knicks, the Grizzlies, the Kings, the Timberwolves, the Pacers, and the Bucks. So what we did here is we both prepared our own list, came up with our own top 10. We're going to compare that throughout the show, but let's just start at the top. Do you have the Cavs again repeating at number 1, or who do you have? Are you going in a different direction here at number 1, Jared?
I am going in a different direction at number 1. I have the Nuggets at number 1. Nikola Jokic is a top 5 offense unto himself. I loved what they did this offseason. I think specifically their bench offense is going to be better. It's been such a disaster over the last however many years because they basically had no backup center. I feel like now you can run offense through Jonas Valanciunas in the post against backup centers. I feel much better about their bench in general, like Bruce Brown, Tim Hardaway Jr. I feel really good about Cam Johnson replacing what they had in Michael Porter Jr. and maybe even doing a little bit more. I feel good about Jamal Murray being better for the majority of the season than he was at the start of last year. It was a really rough start for him after the Canada basketball stuff at the Olympics. So that feels like the best offense in the league to me.
So I also had Denver number 1. I didn't even really think that hard about it. It was pretty obvious to me for a lot of different reasons, and some of it has to do with the other teams that we're probably going to talk about here. But for the Nuggets, you mentioned Nikola Jokic walking top 5, top 10 offense by himself. The Nuggets had an offensive rating of 128.3 last year with Jokic on the court, which would have easily been the best in the league. The problem was when he was off the court, they stunk basically. Offensively, they were 10 to 20 points worse, depending on who was in that Jokic spot when he was on the bench. But with Valanciunas here, I think that's huge. I don't think that... Trying to put this as nicely as possible, Valanciunas does something at an NBA level. Just something.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure the centers in the past did anything at an NBA level. Like DeAndre Jordan seems like a nice guy, you know. Like everybody wanted to believe in Zeke Naji. It never really worked out. Dario Saric is starting games for the Sacramento Kings, which probably tells you everything you need to know there. But it's like with Valanciunas, no, he's not the most skilled offensive player, but he can hit a 3 every once in a while. He's going to rebound the snot out of the basketball. He's just a human barbell. Like, he sets really good screens. Like, he's a functional center that's out there. And in the limited minutes that he's going to be playing, it's only, I feel like he's only going to be better. And, if this team was 4th last year in offensive rating. They were about 2-ish points behind the number 1 Cavaliers. 2 points per 100 possessions behind the Cavs. So if you just sort of do the math on that, like back of the napkin math of, well, Jokic on, Jokic off, Valanciunas helps the off numbers a little bit more. Can they make up those 2 points per 100 possessions? Absolutely, just right there. That's saying nothing of what you already mentioned, Cam Johnson. I think that makes that offense a little bit more dynamic. I think Tim Hardaway Jr. is going to have a career year shooting from 3. He's never played with anybody even close to somebody like Jokic. I love Bruce Brown as a glue guy being back in the fold there. He just seems to help things happen in Denver. So I think the bench is really good. I love that they've inked Christian Brown to that extension. I think he's probably in here for like a mini leap, and I think that can obviously help them, especially if that mini leap comes with an improvement from 3-point range in terms of percentage and volume. I love everything about this Denver Nuggets offense and the way that they're designed. This Nuggets offense is going to have to be elite for them to do what they want to do.
Yeah, I'm in 100% agreement. Like, I don't really have anything to add. I feel like we covered everything about this team in terms of like what they're going to be like offensively. It's just going to be extremely hard to stop them. It always is, but it'll be even harder now because of the pieces they were able to add.
Yeah, obviously the only issue here would be like a Jamal Murray slump/injury, or like Jokic starts showing his age, but I don't think anybody really anticipates that Jokic part there. So, but I just wanted to call out some risk, or the bench just maybe there's something in the water in Denver and just backups, it's where backup centers go to evaporate and something happens there. But all right, so you and I consensus number one, Denver. Didn't think too hard about it. Love that Nuggets offense. Nikola Jokic is goated there. This is where I think things get really interesting, Jared. Who did you have at number 2?
I had the Thunder at number 2. They were, I believe, third last year in offensive rating behind the Cavs and the Celtics. They were like 1.5 points behind Cleveland. I think that with that, like they also had Chet Holmgren for like a third of the season last year. They didn't have Isaiah Hartenstein for a third of the season. Jalen Williams, I would think, should be healthier this year because he was dealing with that wrist injury down the stretch of the season. He's still dealing with it now, but apparently he's not going to be out for too long. So I'm assuming he comes back. I think Chet is going to be better offensively this year. Shea, obviously, heading into his physical prime now. He's going to be 27 years old. He should only be better this year than he was last year. I really like, obviously, all the depth that they have. They have shooting. They have creation. They should have even more creation as J-Dub and Chet get better, as Cason Wallace gets better. They've got screening. They've got handoffs. They've got design. It can get a little bit ISO heavy at times, but Shea just cooks that way. And when J-Dub gets opportunities, he cooks that way. I expect Chet to be better in those situations this year too. As long as J-Dub isn't out for long, which it seems like he's not going to be. I saw the report, I believe, from Tim McMahon yesterday that they don't expect him to be out for any significant period of time. He's not playing tonight, but he should be back fairly soon. As long as he's back within the first, 5-10 games of the season, I feel really good about them.
Yeah, not playing tonight, which is a bummer against the Rockets on ring night, really. But, I mean, he'll be there. He'll receive his ring. He just won't be on the court against Kevin Durant and the Rockets. So a little bit of a bummer there. But, yeah, McMahon reporting that it's not going to be a long thing, so I have no reason to be totally worried about it. I had OKC fourth. We're really talking about sort of the same range here. I kind of felt like they were in that similar tier. I had Denver in like a tier by themselves, and I kind of had like 2 through 5 in kind of like another tier where I felt like they can all sort of switch spots pretty easily. They'll all be within basically a fraction of a point. But yeah, I got OKC. Like, no reason to think that they're not going to be an awesome offense again. For all the reasons you just said. The only reason I think I have them slipping is, number one, I had 2 teams just leaping them. I thought these other 2 teams might just have better offenses. But the other thing is, are they going to experiment a little bit more this regular season? Mm-hmm. Are they going to look to maybe say, you know what, we kind of know this is what works? And if you listen to Mark Daigneault in media day and training camp and stuff, like, he's talking a lot, and Sam Presti talking a lot about how they can't just sort of rinse repeat last year. But like, last year was really, really good. And I don't know, like, why not rinse repeat that? Like, it seemed to work really well. You won the championship. But do they try to experiment a little bit more? We saw them early last year start experimenting with Chet Holmgren on the ball as like a trigger on offense a little bit more, and then he got hurt, and then he comes back, and then they kind of played him a little bit more traditionally. I mean, still like pick and pop stuff, but like they weren't really putting the ball in his hands. At that point, it was very much just like Shea on the MVP trail, and then when he wasn't doing it, it was Jalen Williams, and that was really it. Do they try to get Chet more involved in the offense? And if they do, what kind of growing pains are going to be there? I think that's the best thing for Chet going forward. It's the best thing for the Thunder going forward. But maybe we can anticipate a little bit of hiccups there. And then at the same time, like, they got Nikola Jokic coming back. It gives them another ball handler off the bench, which I think is really interesting. And I think that could help their offense. But at the same time, he's essentially a rookie. And there's going to be growing pains and hiccups there too. So I don't know. Do they do all that? Plus, in addition to maybe some experimenting in the regular season, are they getting the same steal rates that led to the easy offense last year? Like, all-time historic steal rates, turning over opponents on 17% of their possessions. I did top 10 defenses late last week, Jared, and I just basically came to the conclusion. I was like, yeah, why not? Why couldn't they do it again? They were that good defensively. I'm like, yeah, they could definitely do that again. So I don't think it's one of those like non-controllable kind of weird make or miss things. I think they literally just decide when they want to turn you over and then they do it. But I don't know. I'm trying to think of like the risks here with some of these offenses, and that's got to be flagged as one of them. So, but yeah, generally I had him 4. You had him 2. Like I kind of have. I feel like that's the same ish range. I just wonder if like a little bit of experimenting is as good as it might be for their development. It could lead to a slight slippage from like 3 to 4 here in offensive rating.
It could, yeah. I'm of the mind that the experimentation is going to be good for them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the steal rate will remain high. Maybe if it's not 17%, it's going to be close. I think that they could be better rebounding this year too. Like Hartenstein turned them into essentially an average rebounding team from one of the worst rebounding teams ever whenever he was on the floor. And he missed obviously a significant amount of time last year. Chet missed a significant amount of time last year. You have those two guys on the floor more often, you're better offensive and defensive rebounding team, and that could help offset if they do lose some of the steal rate. That could offset a little bit of it.
So you had OKC 2. I'll give you my number 2 here. And I kind of like your number 2 pick better. Like I don't feel awesome about this. But I had the Atlanta Hawks number 2. Fully aware that this might be way too high.
Yeah.
They were 17th in offensive rating last year. That is a 15-spot jump in offensive rating. So maybe I was just trying to be a little bit different here. But they did add Kristaps Porzingis, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and Luke Kennard in the offseason. You get a full year of Jalen Johnson. Aneke Okongwu, I think, played really well down the stretch. Is that more of what we see this year? They were also 6th in offensive rating post-All-Star when Okongwu was playing well, when Zachary Riziche really sort of kind of things clicked into place for him as a rookie. I think the biggest issue with the Hawks last year was there was not nearly enough shooting, and they turned the ball over quite a bit. And then obviously injuries to some of their best players, including mostly being Jalen Johnson. So I'm just like, all right, healthy roster right now. And they really did address the shooting. Like you think about their 3 big additions, and they added a shooter in the backcourt, a shooter on the wing, and a shooter in the front court. I kind of love that in terms of just, wide swath, just take care of throw money at the problem. And it kind of felt like they did that. How many games is Porzingis going to really play? What kind of role does Nickeil Alexander-Walker have? Is he one of those role players that played really well next to Rudy Gobert and Jaden McDaniels and Anthony Edwards and then Julius Randle? And before that, Karl-Anthony Towns. Is he a role player who can also function that well against like near Trae Young, which is just a different kind of player? I think that's an open question. Luke Kennard, awesome shooter, right? We know that. There's a reason why every team that has Luke Kennard loves to have Luke Kennard and then stops playing Luke Kennard, and then next thing you know, Luke Kennard's playing for a different team. So we'll see if Atlanta wants to stick with Kennard there. But I do generally think that there's enough shooting. I think there's enough improvement. And I think that with Trae Young kind of running the show here, kind of getting it to these shooters, and if they're playing fast, and when we know Quinn Snyder can generate a good offense, I think there's a lot of the right ingredients here. They also get to the line a ton. And I think they're only going to do that at a better rate with Jalen Johnson being healthy and with Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Kristaps Porzingis there. So I just think that they hit all the right buttons in the offseason. And I think we always see one team kind of outside the top 10 leap basically into the top 5 in offensive rating. Sometimes it's just 3-point shooting luck and stuff like that. So I'm kind of baking some of that in. But I took a swing here. I put Atlanta at number 2.
I'm big on the Hawks too. I don't quite have them at number 2, but I do have them in my top 10. Should I just say where I have them? Or I've got them at number 6.
Okay.
So I had them making a pretty significant leap too. Obviously, they were 6th over the second half of last season, and it's for a lot of the same reasons that you said. I love the fact that they added shooting. I feel like they added a lot of lineup versatility. They can play in more more configurations this year than they were able to last year. You can play either Porzingis or Okongwu as the lone big man. You can play them together. You can play both of them with Jalen Johnson. You can play one of them with Jalen Johnson. You can play Nickeil Alexander-Walker as sort of the backup point guard, or you can play him with Trae Young. You can do so many different things. You can play Nickeil and Dyson Daniels as your backcourt and really smother teams and try to, rack up those steals and fuel the transition offense. And then Trae is obviously he's not an offense unto himself. He doesn't quite drive offense at that elite level, but he's obviously one of the best passers in the league. And if he shows more discipline in terms of the shot selection, like he has at times throughout his career. And now that he has more options than ever to distribute the ball to, I would hope that he's able to do that. Then, I don't want to say the sky's the limit. It's not quite that high, but I think they're going to be a really good offense.
Yeah, it does feel like some of the additions potentially could have like a domino effect, like a exponentially domino effect on this. Like, oh wow, Trae Young he's never played in this much space. He's never played with a floor spacing 5 quite like Kristaps Porzingis. And I just wonder, like, are we in for a career year from Trae Young where he kind of ties in together some of the stuff that he showed us last year in terms of being a little bit more unselfish, with some of the earlier stuff like during their Eastern Conference Finals run where he just can like catch lightning in a bottle. Can he combine all those aspects in all of this new space and lead the league in assists again this year, but then maybe have like a career year efficiency wise in terms of scoring? That's sort of what it would take for Atlanta to get as high as I put them.
It's going to go either that way or it's going to go really badly because of the contract situation.
Right. And then Trae Young's just playing for a different team this time next year. So, yep, that'll be fun. Give me your number 3.
I had Cleveland at number 3. It's still going to be a really good offense. Kenny Atkinson, one of the best offensive minds in the league. They have the talent, obviously, in the backcourt and in the front court. They're going to be missing Darius Garland for a little bit, I think, although he did practice, I believe, on Monday. So maybe not missing him for the start of the season, but Max Strus out for the start of the season, but still so much talent there. So the offensive design, I just firmly believe in what Kenny Atkinson is going to be able to get them to do. And if they don't quite run as hot as they did last year in terms of efficiency, I don't see them falling off that far to the point that they drop out of the top 5.
Yeah, I mean, I have them 5th. So yeah, I no reason to think that they're going to get worse other than just injuries. You mentioned the Garland and Strus thing. We'll see. That did make me pause a little bit. Can you miss that much time with these guys? Then everything kind of falls apart if Garland is out for a sustained amount of time. But you're right, like he's practicing. It doesn't sound like it's going to be a long thing. Max Strus, it's going to be a lot longer. I don't really know how big of a deal that is. He's obviously very helpful for them. They lose Ty Jerome, but they bring back Merrill. They bring back Lonzo Ball. So I just think all of that sort of just bounce. I'm just going to call it a wash, at the end of the day. They have talked a little bit in the preseason about trying to focus a little bit more on defense. And I just wonder if there'll be a shift in Atkinson's offensive approach that might prioritize defense a little bit more. I don't know. They're still going to be really good. They're still going to be elite. I have them 5. You have them 3. They were the best 3-point shooting percentage team in the league last season. If they slide back a little bit in 3-point shooting percentage, especially with Garland and Strus potentially missing some time here, maybe they drop a spot or 2 in overall offensive rating. But I'm with you. I had them. I think their floor is basically top 5 as long as the main characters are healthy for most of the season. I also love that basically Mobley and Jarrett Allen play a ton. It's why I had them in my top 10 in defensive ratings also, because you're just getting 48 minutes of, good to elite rim protection all the time. That also matters on offense, right? Like you're getting good rebounding. You're getting a post presence basically all the time with these guys on the court. They play a ton of minutes. They have figured out how to play off of each other. I think that evolution is only going to get better, right? I think as Mobley also ascends, like that pairing is only going to make even more sense, right? It's not that situation where as Mobley ascends, Jarrett Allen almost becomes like in the way. I think the way that Mobley ascends is actually making that partnership work even more, especially on the offensive end if Mobley's kind of getting better at that 3-point shot and stuff like that. So yeah, I have him top 5 clearly. I don't think there's any argument there. Anything else in the Cavs?
No, I mean, just echoing what you said about Mobley, him getting even better. Mitchell in the prime of his career. Garland, as soon as he comes back, the talent is there. The design is there. They have the shooting for the most part. They have options at that Max Strus spot that they can use during the regular season, at least. I'm a little bit less comfortable with that during the playoffs because they don't know who the definitive guy is. But when you're in the regular season, you can sort of rotate through those options and figure out the best one on a night-to-night basis.
It feels like it should be DeAndre Hunter, right?
It feels like it should be, but also sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
I love the Lonzo addition for them, specifically in the style of play that they have too. Like a guy that's just a ball mover that keeps the line moving and can knock down threes, I think is just a really good addition for them.
I like Sam Merrill. It's nothing against Sam Merrill, but it feels like it's a problem when that 5th guy is Sam Merrill. right? Like it should be somebody like Lonzo. It should have been somebody like Okoro. It should be somebody like DeAndre Hunter. They need like these guys to just step up and grab that spot, especially in the playoffs. Not so much in
The
the regular season.
lineups always look the best with Dean Wade, but Dean
Right.
Wade is never on the court.
Dean Wade can't stay healthy. We didn't even mention Dean Wade until just now. All right. I've got for my third spot, I had the Knicks. Did you have them in your top 10?
I did. I have them fourth.
Okay, so not far off. All right. So I'm not crazy here. Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns. That's really the whole argument. Karl-Anthony Towns here for a full training camp. I don't know if people remember, like he had literally just gotten traded last year. So now full training camp, full year under his belt. Yeah, Tom Thibodeau's out. Mike Brown is in. I think that's an overall add offensively when you have Mike Brown there. I think you've already seen him add some dynamic things to the offense. Like I was telling somebody, maybe on this show, I don't remember, the other day, but I was like, in their first preseason game with Mike Brown as coach, I saw Jalen Brunson go to the corner without the ball in his hand and then run pick and roll in the middle of the court, and Jalen Brunson just standing in the corner, spacing. And I was like flabbergasted. I was like, are you allowed to do this? Like, I didn't even know that Jalen Brunson was allowed to not have the ball offensively. Like, it was just so weird looking to watch a Knicks game and see that. But I like it. I think it's all good. Brunson's obviously incredibly efficient with the ball in his hands, but I do think everything's going to net out as a net positive offensively with all these guys being involved. And then, they add Jordan Clarkson and Yabusele. I love those additions for them in the offseason. You've got McBride coming off the bench. I just think there's real guys coming off the bench. I do think that there's some risk in the offensive experimentation, starting Mitchell Robinson here potentially. That'll help their rebounding numbers, but would they be better off maybe playing a shooter at that spot? I don't know, but I just overall think that this offense is going to be really good just because of exactly where I started, Jared. They got Brunson, they got Cat. These are all NBA level players, all NBA because of what they can do offensively, not at all for what they do defensively. This is going to be a really good offense.
Yeah, like you said, Brunson and Towns should be the foundation of a top 5, top 10 offense. I think you're going to get more out of both Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby in Mike Brown's offense just because of the way things are going to be slightly more democratized. Obviously, Jalen Brunson is still going to be the foundation of the offense. He's going to have the ball a lot, but getting into your stuff faster, getting more like dribble handoff stuff for the guys that have been typically parked in the corners and not asked to do anything else is going to be helpful for them. I was listening to Fred Katz's podcast the other day, and he said that the Knicks ran something like 60 dribble handoffs per 100 possessions in their preseason games,
Wow,
which is like almost 3 times as many as they ran last year. So things are going to look a lot different. They're obviously still going to run plenty of pick and roll. They're still going to run plenty of isolation for Brunson, for Towns, but the other guys touching the ball more and getting into the paint more because they have head starts as opposed to just parking themselves in the corners and maybe lifting up to the wing on a pick and roll, I think is going to be really good for everybody. And then Robinson, as long as he's healthy, having that additional offensive rebounding threat out there, it sort of combines what you want to get out of Brown, where things are moving a little bit quicker and you have more time to operate in the offense, and what you ideally got under Tibbs, where you also hammered the offensive glass when you were missing those shots.
Yeah, I guess the one concern with the Knicks would be, can they solve that problem that teams figured out where they put a wing on Cat and they just started switching that pick and roll, pick and pop with Brunson and Cat. And I think Mike Brown introducing stuff for Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby to do things, like that's an obvious, fix to that. Is like, well, we just won't run that. We'll run other stuff. We'll have other things on the menu that we can get to. I do wonder if there's going to be games where we see Mike Brown take Robinson out of the starting lineup and play a shooter in certain matchups. I'm sure we'll see those lineups regardless if it starts or not. Like, we'll see plenty of those lineups.
Yeah, I would think we'll see them, throughout the course of a game. Whether they're going to do that in the starting lineup, it kind of seems like if Mitchell Robinson is not healthy, they might start like Ariel Porty in his place just so they can keep the bench lineups together and play the same way to start games. But I would imagine that would still lead to more Towns at the 5 stuff and more 5-out stuff, whether it's with Yabusele or Clarkson or McBride, or if they just slide Josh Hart back into that stuff. That's still not 5-out, but it's more 5-out than it is with Mitch,
right?
Obviously. But Hart sounded like he's got an injury issue to start the season too. He's been out with this back injury since Abu Dhabi. So, we'll see what happens there.
I'm really intrigued to see what these lineups with McBride or Clarkson in that fifth spot will do offensively. Like I just think the offensive ratings for those lineups could just be off the charts and obviously help boost their offensive rating overall. So you had the Knicks fourth. I had them third. I had OKC fourth. I'm not sure if I said that already. I had Cleveland fifth. Who did you have five?
I had the Lakers fifth.
Okay.
Do you have them in the top 10?
I do, and I have them later. I won't give it away just yet, but I do have them in my top 10.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Luka Doncic plus a center that can do anything offensively plus shooting around it, you're going to have a top, five-ish offense. You throw in LeBron when he gets back, what Reeves can do when those guys are on the floor, especially because they just get him such easy matchups. I did a video breakdown on that last year toward the end of the season at Last Night in Basketball, and he was just getting the easiest shots of his career by a significant margin and the easiest matchups of his career by a significant margin. And then what he can do with either one or both of those guys off the court to prop up those lineups. They just have so many options offensively, and I trust JJ Redick to get them into better positions than he did when he sort of had to cobble things together at the last minute last year because Luka came over in the middle of the season. Mm-hmm. I think with a full off season to prepare, they're going to be a lot better offensively.
So I agree with you. I have them in my top 10. My only concern with them is, do they have enough shooting around Luka and LeBron? Like, I feel good about Austin Reeves. I feel good about Hachimura off the catch. Dalton Knecht is still hanging around. We'll see if they let him play. Gabe Vincent he's going to start tonight. It sounds like he's going to have a big role this year. Shot 35% last year from three, just one season shooting over 36%. He's kind of like one of these fake three-point shooters where, yeah, he can hit open threes. Like, can he? I don't know.
Yeah, those guys, though, when you put them with Luka, they tend to shoot better by 2 or 3%,
I hope so. They're going to that's where I just had the little, like, again, I had them in my top 10, but that was my brief hesitation with them is I'm really banking on that Luka boost across the board, basically, for like a lot of different players. Yeah. And Luka is a top 10 offense by himself. He's not a top 5 offense, right? Like Dallas ranked 8th and 6th in offensive rating in the last 2 years with the full year of Luka. So it's enough to get you into this conversation. It's not quite like you're not going to have the upper crust elite offense unless Luka has those shooters. But I still like the Lakers. I couldn't get all the way to 5th with them because I just have questions about their shooting. Fully knowing, like when I first did my rough draft of this, I think I had them a lot closer to where you have them, and then I just kind of kept doing it, and I was like, I kind of felt better about this team, and I put them ahead, and like next thing you knew, I had the Lakers kind of sliding down, but I have them in my top 10. I have them at 9. That's where I have them. So,
in the interest of transparency, I felt a lot better about I felt really good about 1, and then I felt pretty good about 2, 3, 4, and then like 5 to 17, I was like, man, I really don't know about where these teams are going to go.
I felt really good about 1, and I feel lousy about the rest of it. I have no idea if I'm right about any of this. So, like I said, I had Atlanta 2, and I don't feel good about it. So you had the Lakers 5, I had the Cavs 5, you had the Hawks 6. I'll do my 6th spot. I have the Clippers here.
I have the Clippers at 7.
Okay, so. Same thing. So they were 15th last year, but they were 4th in offensive rating post All-Star with Kawhi healthy. And if you've watched any Clippers this preseason, Kawhi looks great. Like he looks midseason form. Now, knock on wood, whatever that means, like he's going to miss time, we know it. But he only played 37 games last year. I'm going to bet the over on that. And I think this offense is going to look a lot closer to what it looked like post All-Star when it ranked 4th in offensive rating to close the year versus 15th, which is what it was for the balance of the year. Just that by itself. Never mind the fact that they added Bradley Beal, Chris Paul, John Collins, Brook Lopez. Like all of their additions are offensive leaning. I think this team is still going to be really good defensively. I have them slipping a little bit defensively, not a ton. I think I still had them top 5 or 6, where they were 3rd last year. I think they're going to more than make up for that offensively. This Clippers team on paper is so good. I kind of hate that I had them in my like top 6 in both offensive rating and defensive rating because I cannot bring myself to ever trust the Clippers. And yet here I am. I have them ranked 6.
I'm in the same boat. I, at the same time, feel like 7 might be low
Right.
And then just because of all the talent that's there, like they've got 11 guys that really should be in rotations, but all of them are like the youngest guys in their rotation are Zubats and Collins, who are 28 years old. They're going to be the oldest team in NBA history, like by a lot. I ran the projection for their minutes weighted age using like Kevin Pelton's minutes projections that came out this year, and it was 33.1 years old, which would be the oldest team in the history of the league by a full year.
Wow.
So it's really tough to trust that. Guys are going to miss time. You're not going to be getting the exact same team on the court that you think you're going to be getting. If Kawhi misses more time than expected, things get a little bit different. They're still very, very, very dependent on Harden for shot creation for others. And then when he's on the bench, it's very, very dependent on Chris Paul for shot creation for others. They're really the only two guys that create for other guys as opposed to creating for themselves. But there's so much offensive talent here that I believe in it anyway. I think it's a pretty safe top 10 offense. The question is where you get the ceiling from and how many games you get from all these guys.
Well said. Yep.
They're another team, by the way, like the Hawks, that they just have so many more options to play in different ways than they did last year.
The offense last year was basically Harden, Zubac pick and roll, or Kawhi post up, and it was just picking one of those two items. You just push one of those two buttons, and that was essentially the offense. It's kind of the same thing now, but at least you have Chris Paul able to run a pick and roll when Harden is on the bench. You could do stuff with Beal. You've opened up things now with Lopez as a floor spacing 5. I think it'll look a little bit different, even if like schematically it's still sort of the same kind of offense.
You could just play different ways. There's a pick and pop option now. 2 of them, really, if you include John Collins.
Yep.
He shot 39.9% from 3 last year for the second time in his career, exactly 39.9. Sucks for him to not crack 40, but he's a really good player. He gives them a vertical element that they don't really have from other guys. Like Zubats will run that pick and roll and get the lob dunks, but he's not like a super high flying vertical threat like Collins is. So it's a little bit different for that pick and roll partner for Harden and for Chris Paul when he's out there. The Collins Paul partnership off the bench, I think, is going to be a really good one.
Yep, I agree. I'm gonna go with my 7th spot here. I've got the Milwaukee Bucks. Did you have them in your top 10?
I didn't. They were like my next team out, like 11. Okay. Like I have after the top 10, I have like 7 teams listed in order, and the Bucks were the first one of those teams.
So they were 10th last year, right? So it's sort of right in the area that you had them. I think Giannis plus shooting is a formula for a top 10 offense, and I just ended up moving them to 7. I don't feel great about it, but that's where I have them. They led the NBA in 3-point shooting percentage last year, and this is one of those circumstances where I'm like, yep, they could probably do that again. Just because Giannis creates so much space for his shooters. They bring back AJ Green, Kevin Porter. Like they've got guys like Damian Lillard obviously isn't there anymore. Miles Turner is a little bit more of a high volume 3-point shooter than Brook Lopez, not by a lot, but a little bit. But overall, like yes, they led they led the league in 3-point shooting percentage. They were about average in volume. I think they can. I think in losing Damian Lillard and trying to maximize this year of Giannis, I think you're going to see the Bucks try to get up a lot more threes this year around Giannis. I think they're going to just spam the 3-point shooting button. It's going to be basically Giannis finishing at the basket or kicking out to a shooter. They should be taking 40 plus threes a game, no question, as opposed to like 36-ish, which is where they were last year. If they can just crank up the 3-point shooting a little bit more, they've got the shooters to do it. They've got the guy to create for it. And I just think Giannis is going to just be on, like, he put up MVP level numbers last year. I think he's going to do it again this year. I just think the formula works for Milwaukee, at least offensively. Defensively, I got a ton of other questions. Didn't even come close to cracking my top 10. In defensive ratings, offensively, feel really good about them landing somewhere in this area.
Yeah, I obviously trust Giannis at just about the highest level possible. Mm-hmm. I trust basically nothing else about this team. And I specifically can't trust offenses where I don't trust the point guard play. Like, Giannis is really good and an elite driver of offense, but he's not a Jokic level passer to the point where if you don't have good point guard play, you're still going to have
Careful. He might come after you.
Giannis is a very good passer. I think it's safe to say that he's not like the best passer of a big man in league history.
He's not an elite passer. Right.
You know, like he is an elite driver of offense. He's just not as good a passer as Nikola Jokic, to the point where if you don't have good guard play, you can still have an elite offense. Like,
Yep.
I think it's going to be a good offense. I just don't know if it's going to be a top. What do you have him, 7?
I had 7. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Might be
they
high.
were 10th last year. If they come in 11th, is that really that bad after losing Damian Lillard? Like, I don't trust Kevin Porter Jr. or Cole-Anthony all that much. Like, Ryan Rollins, like, I think that there's some stuff he could do, but they seem to not trust him by the end of the playoffs. He's out of the rotation by the end of the playoffs. I don't trust, like, Taurean Prince to shoot 40-something% from 3 again. Like, are guys like him and Gary Trent Jr. and Gary Harris and AJ Green going to hit some threes? Yeah. But are they going to be the best shooting team in the league again? I don't know about that.
So who do you have at 8? I want to try to get one the same again, because we haven't had the same team at the same number since Denver at number 1. Who do you have at 8?
I have the Wolves at 8.
Oh, I had a different W team at 8. I thought we were almost there. Okay, you had the Wolves at 8. I have the Warriors at 8. Go ahead.
Yeah, they were 8 last year. Obviously, they're losing Nickeil Alexander-Walker, but they're bringing back everybody else. They've got Terrence Shannon Jr., they've got Rob Dillingham coming into, and Jalen Clark, I guess, probably too, to fill in those Alexander-Walker minutes. Mike Conley's getting older, and that's a little bit concerning because they do still depend on him in terms of, like, offensive organization. They can get a little helter-skelter whenever he's not out there, but Anthony Edwards taking a step forward, having Julius Randle for more games than they did last year. He missed whatever it was, 20 games or whatever during the middle of the season. They still have, obviously, very good screen and roll stuff with Rudy Gobert. I trust Edwards to be the foundation of a good offense. I trust Randle in the regular season to be able to be the foundation of a pretty good offense. Obviously, he did very well through the first 2 rounds of the playoffs last year, but then you run into the Thunder, and it's a completely different story. But this is an offense that was already good last year, loses one player, but I think has the ability to sort of back up what they are missing from him.
I love the Timberwolves. They narrowly missed my top 10. I had them in my honorable mention list. I had them first out, like you had Milwaukee. I love this offense, though. I agree with everything you said. Can Rob Dillingham, as they kind of give him more minutes, and Bones Highland was getting a lot of time in preseason. I'm not sure if that's a regular season thing. We'll see. But can those guys make positive impacts as Chris Finch moves more offense their way? Finch is an offensive genius. He's going to figure out ways to make it work. He made it work with Gobert and Cat. He made it work with Randall last year. Like, he just figures out ways to make all the pieces fit. So if anybody has any fit concerns at any level for this Timberwolves roster, Finch will take care of it. Like, that's his talent. I love Terrence Shannon. He's gonna probably get a bulk of the Nickeil Alexander-Walker minutes. He's not Nickeil Alexander-Walker from 3-point range. I do think he adds something else in terms of getting to the basket, drawing fouls. I think he's going to be doing all of that stuff this year. So I think the efficiency will, again, in the wash, it'll kind of just be even. He's not what NAW was as a 3-point shooter. Probably get to the line a little bit more. I think all that kind of balances out. But yeah, I had him right on the fringe. I like this Minnesota offense. My only concern, and why I guess I had them slipping just out of the top 10, is I know that Julius Randle is like the player version of the Clippers for me. Like, I want to trust him. I like him. Like, when he's playing well, I'm enjoying it. It makes me happy, but I can't ever bring myself to fully trust it. Everybody's like, well, now it's a full year of Julius Randle and all these things. It's like, okay, yeah, sure. But, like, it's also Julius Randle. Like, it's a very sort of on-year, off-year thing for him throughout his career, regardless of the context. So are we going to get a strong Julius Randle year? I don't know. I want to. I hope so. I like when Julius Randle plays well. I like when the Timberwolves have a co-star for Anthony Edwards. I like all of this stuff, but I couldn't quite bring myself there. But I probably have them too low.
I think with Randle, a lot of it depends on his mental state going into a given season.
Mm-hmm.
And having just gotten the new contract, I feel like the mental state is going to be pretty good. I also like the idea of getting Edwards into the post. Like, yes. He has a game tailor-made to go down there in the, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant style of like not big wing, but not small wing, like average size wing player. He's got the physicality, he's got the speed, he's got the quickness, he's got the jumper. And last year, the reporting during the offseason was Anthony Edwards is going to come back and be one of the best 3-point shooters in the league. He led the league in threes made. This year, the reporting is he's going to come back with a post game.
You're right.
I believe he's going to come back with a post game, and it's going to be a really good one.
You've convinced me. I put him too low. I forgot about that report. You're right, because to me, I've probably talked to you about this before. He's NBA Kirby. Like he just like decides to take a move and he just grabs it. Like he with the 3-point shooting, he literally talked about how he experimented with Damian Lillard and Steph Curry and Klay Thompson's shooting forms and just and settled on I think Lillard's form. I'm like, what do you mean? You just decided to shoot like Damian Lillard now? Like, and he says it like so nonchalantly, and who knows how real it is or hyperbolic he's being, but it's still like
I will
the
say,
proof is there in the numbers. Like he did something, and he kind of just did decide to be an elite 3-point shooter.
I don't think his jumper looks similar to Dame's at all.
No.
So I don't know how much he did that, but he did become an elite 3-point shooter.
He did just decide to be a good 3-point shooter, though, and that's the crazy. So if he just says, I'm going to decide to be an elite post player, I'm like, yep, I believe you. Because you look at, to your point, you look at him and you're like, you should be an elite post player. I don't know if you should be an elite 3-point shooter. This should probably come easier to him.
Yeah, I think it's also especially encouraging that he's going down there in like his early to mid 20s, where it usually takes guys until they're in their, early 30s when they start to lose their athleticism and they're like, hey, you know what? This would be good for me to already be adding that to the arsenal at whatever he is, like 24, 25, I think is highly encouraging as well.
I had him too low. I love Ant. Dang it. All right. I had the Lakers. No, I had the Warriors number 8. So I'll do my Warriors spiel here. So they were 16th last year. Did you have them in your top 10?
I had him at 10.
Okay. So Steph and Jimmy. That's it. It's Steph, most efficient 3-point shooter, high volume 3-point shooter we've ever seen. And then you add Jimmy Butler to the recipe here. Their free throw rates go from league worst and near the top of the league. They turn the ball over a lot less, which has been, sort of an Achilles heel for the Warriors offense the entire Steph era. I just think that there's enough of like the efficiency things from both poles here that they're just going to be one of the more efficient offenses in the league. I think they're a no-brainer top 10 offense as long as they stay healthy and the age thing. And that's really why I can't, like, if they got like 60 games from Steph, 60 games from Jimmy, 60 games from Draymond, and like relative and 60 games from Al Horford and relative good health across the board, this would probably be a top 5 offense. I don't even know if they're going to get hit 60, just because the way, like, Jimmy doesn't play 60 games a year anymore. Steph has dealt with some injuries. Draymond's dealt with injuries. Al Horford's going to miss 20 to 30 games a year. And my only other concern with the Warriors is, do they actually have enough shooting, right? Like, yes, you got Buddy Hield on the roster. Seth Curry will get back on the roster eventually. Al Horford is good from his position, but like Hield tends to kind of go in and out of the rotation. Brendan Podziemski runs really hot and cold. Moses Moody is kind of streaky also, and he's already hurt. I do wonder if they actually have enough actionable, functional shooting, or if their best shooters end up just sort of getting buried behind their best players who tend not to be the best shooters outside of Steph.
The shooting and the age are definitely the concerns, but I view it somewhat similarly, at least, to the Nuggets, where the non-Steph minutes have just been this absolute epic disaster for so many years. And then you bring in Jimmy last year, and all of a sudden they were winning the non-Steph minutes and not becoming a complete disaster offensively. The free throw rate stuff and the turnover rate stuff is absolutely massive for them. And the only things holding me back from having them even higher are, like you said, the age and injury concerns and a little bit of the same shooting concern.
Yep. They're going to be a lot of fun. And do they dial it back a little bit? Because they were basically in playoff mode the minute Jimmy got there.
Yeah.
They're probably going to take their foot off the gas a little bit here, but they should still finish top 10 pretty easily. So I had the Lakers at 9. We talked about the Lakers. Who did you have at 9?
This is the one that I feel the iffiest about, I think, just because I really don't know what to expect here, but I have the Rockets at 9.
Okay, I have the Rockets at 10, so that's our last team. Great. I also was surprised that I put them here. I was like, really? Am I going to put them here? Go ahead.
The combination of bringing in Kevin Durant and having all of the crazy offensive rebounding and all of the crazy athletes that are going to be able to help them get out and transition is, I think, just one that can overcome even the fact that they might not be able to really dribble. Like, I'm expecting the massive leap that everybody else is from Amen Thompson this year. He's already my favorite player in the league to watch. I've said that like 100 different times on 100 different platforms. I think he's just going to be phenomenal. He already is really, really good. And we've just seen, like, It's only been 2 years, but he got better at literally everything last year. I expect something similar to happen. Just the level of athleticism and the level of skill that he has is otherworldly. And then you bring in a guy who is a half court offense, at least unto himself, which was their biggest issue last year. And you pair that guy with a passer like Alperen Şengün. I mean, you're just going to be able to do so many different things. The only concern for me is the fact that they don't have like a real point guard out there.
Mm-hmm.
And the experimenting with Amen as the point guard could lead to some growing pains just because he's not like a traditional or natural point guard. He's going to be someone that kind of has to grow into the job. But I think that there's enough there to overcome it and slip into the back half of the top 10.
So they were 12th last year. So if you just do like, well, you were 12th last year and then you add Kevin Durant. Yep, that feels about 9-ish, 10-ish, right? Obviously, it's not that simple, but it could be. Like with Kevin Durant, maybe it is. I don't know. I'll start with my concerns. I share a lot of them, the same ones you have. Turnovers are going to be an issue. Like this team they just need to not be in the bottom 10 in the league in turnover rate. And I don't know that they can. I think that's going to be a real concern. Now, at the end of the day, maybe they start the year there and then they kind of work their way out of it as they kind of get through these growing pains. Maybe they make a move for a point guard midseason. Maybe they just ultimately decide, you know what? We're just going to throw the ball to Kevin Durant and let him go to work in the half court, and that solves kind of all of our problems. And maybe it does. But the turnover rate is going to be an issue. Do their best lineups have enough shooting? It's just another one of those concerns that I have. Dorian Finney-Smith is already hurt. Is Reed Shepherd actually going to get on the court or not? And so, I think some of their best lineups, it's really fun to go really big, but I do think that there's going to be some shooting concerns there. But those are the concerns I have, in addition to the fact that they have no point guard, like you mentioned. But they're so freaking good at these other things that it just sort of, tips the scales in the right direction. Like they are so dominant on the offensive glass and just led the league by miles in second chance points. They're going to get to the free throw line. They add Kevin Durant to this thing, so that's going to improve their half court offense efficiency wise and the like. I just think that there's enough low hanging fruit that they're taking care of and just like dominating in that they can afford some slippage in terms of turnovers and maybe some shooting and stuff like that and still be a really, really efficient offense. Again, I think it would surprise people to hear that Houston was even 12th last year because when you watched them play, you didn't look at them and be like, yep, that's one of the 12 best offenses in the league. But they just take care of all those second chance points and those little things. And they didn't turn the ball over basically at all last year. We'll see what happens this year with that. But they also were like near the bottom of the league in passes made last year, which is a really kind of easy way to not turn the ball over that much if you just don't pass it that much. And I can kind of see them doing something similar again this year, where like we don't really trust anybody to pass the ball, so what if we just don't? He's just like kind of one pass, that guy takes the shot. The other thing I'll mention here is I think Alperen Şengün is in for another leap. I just think that guy, people might point to Eurobasket as the leap. I think he took the leap in the playoffs. I think he was just dominant in that playoff series. And then he continued that in Eurobasket. And I think we're in for a really big Şengün season. And he's about to be something, but he's not going to be Jokic. But he's also going to be better than Sabonis when you kind of talk about the scale of center that he's kind of that prototype of. I think he's due for a potentially like all NBA type season for Şengün. So if you get that, there's just enough talent on offense that it works.
Yeah, I predicted Şengün for third team All NBA in my preseason predictions. So I'm with you on that leap. I believe in the Eurobasket leap. I don't know that he was 100% there in the playoffs. Obviously, they were still struggling a little bit to score in the half court, but now you got a guy who create literally any shot at any time. And I agree with you that a low risk offense where it's like Şengün makes one decision and then the shot goes up, or it's KD go get us a bucket, is probably the avenue for them to go, especially when you get into it against really good half court defenses. But against the teams that are not like against the non-top 10 defenses, I don't think they're going to have that much trouble scoring just because of the amount of options that they're going to have, even if they are a little bit of spacing concerns, just because they're going to eat it all up on the offensive glass. They're going to get to the line. There's enough talent there between Şengün, KD, Amen, Jabari Smith, Tari Eason. Like there are so many different ways that they can attack you offensively.
I'm gonna surprise you with this question, Jared. But like, is there a point guard or a guard that can maybe help with the playmaking part of this, like in the league, that if you could have the Rockets just trade for them mid-season, that you would like plopped onto the team?
I mean, if you could put Derek White on this team, I would be thinking big things.
Right. That's kind of the guy that would make a lot of sense there. So to recap our top tens, and then I want to get to some of our honorable mentions really quick. We don't have to do all of them, but I had Denver, Atlanta, New York, OKC, Cleveland, the Clippers, Milwaukee, Golden State, the Lakers, and Houston. You had Denver also at number one, OKC, Cleveland, New York, the Lakers, Atlanta, the Clippers, Minnesota, Houston, and Golden State. So the only team we had all the same teams in kind of a different, for the most part, a different order. The only place that we were different is I had Milwaukee in my top 10, and you had Minnesota in your top 10. We each kind of had that other person's top 10 team 11 on our chart. So very, very similar stuff. So we basically had the same top 11. Who was like that next fringe team that you feel like talking about?
So I had the Bucks, like I said, at 11th, and then the other ones I just kind of listed in alphabetical order. Like
Okay.
the Grizzlies finished whatever it was, like 6th in offense last year. No Desmond Bain. They have a zillion injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who the hell knows what's going to happen there?
Yeah, I had Memphis on my list here. They always seem to be a top 10 offense, but and they're always like great in the paint. They lead the league in points in the paint, second chance points. They take care of the rebounding boards. They don't turn the ball over a ton. Like all that stuff was good. Is cleared to return for opening night, so that's good. Jaren Jackson Jr. made his return recently in preseason, but Bane's gone. They still don't have Zach Edey. I'm not sure. Like the front court minutes make me a little nervous outside of Jaren Jackson Jr. And also the new coach is there, and I don't know that he's good. So I couldn't trust them enough to put him in my top 10, but they were on my short list.
Yeah, Brandon Clark out too, Ty Jerome out
Yeah.
too. There's just a whole lot going on there as per usual with their ridiculous injury situation. But
Yep.
yeah, I had them. I had like, can the Magic actually get into the top 10?
Ooh.
I don't really think so.
I mean, either.
But I had them on the short list of teams that I was considering for the next group of spots. I had the Pacers. I had the Pistons.
Me too.
I had the Kings just because all of the talent there leans offense, but
Right.
I don't like the way it congeals. So I
Yeah.
had them dropping out of the top 10.
It does
And then I
feel
was
like it's something less than the sum of its parts, the way that it fits together. Yeah.
And then I was like, what if the Celtics just shoot 55 threes a game and make 36, 37% of them?
So that'll probably be the last team we talk about here. Boston was second in offensive rating last year. They were first the year before that. They lose Jason Tatum for most of the season. Who knows when he's going to come back, if he comes back. But they also
let me tell you, I'm looking forward to that discourse every day.
Now, Porzingis gone, Holiday gone, Horford gone, and they just Cornette's gone. I don't love the depth on this team. I do love the guard room though. Between Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, Anthony Simons, they still have Jaylen Brown. He's healthy, not a guard, but he's there and healthy. Like there's offensive talent here where I did think about them maybe cracking my top 10. Actually, in my first draft, I had them just at 10 because I thought it was like kind of a nice round team to put there at 10. Ultimately, I had Houston jumping them. They're going to put up a ton of threes. They're talking about picking up the pace. They're talking about getting to the line more than they did last year. And that's all good to talk about. I get it. I got to see it. And it's one thing to have a system and just trust your system. It's another thing to go execute that system. And everybody thinks that the Celtics system is just putting up a lot of threes, and that's a huge part of it. The other big part of it is keeping turnovers low, not fouling. Like you're winning all of the possession stuff so that the math ends up always winning in your favor with the 3-point volume stuff. If you don't have those other things defensively, if you're turning the ball over a little bit too much, if you're fouling and not getting to the free throw line, the math flips. And you end up just being the Charlotte Hornets, who took basically as many threes last year as Boston, but didn't do any of those other things. So, and they stunk. And that offense wasn't good. So I couldn't, get myself to put them in that top 10, but they were on my short list because I do think that there's enough there where they'll probably finish in the top half in offense, but I don't think they'll be an elite offense.
I really don't see how you're going to shoot more free throws without your best player and the guy who got to the line most often on your team. That just doesn't track for me. And also having less spacing because you don't have the two shooting big men anymore. Like granted, Chris Boucher is going to put up a lot of threes, and Josh Minot and Luka Garza will probably put up some threes, but Nemias Queta is not going to do that. And again, you don't have the spacing from the 4 spot that you had with Tatum. It's really hard for me to see them getting there.
Yep, I agree. Miami Hurricanes lose to Louisville. We still have a shot though, right? I mean, 12-team playoff, that's what it's for.
Yeah, super disappointing. Carson Beck, like,
you knew we were going to lose though.
Yeah,
you always lose to Louisville.
Yeah, I said, like, I texted my brother as soon as Miami deferred on the kickoff, and I was like, this game is not going to be good. I hate deferring on the kickoff. You're just letting the other team take a lead, and especially against an offense like theirs where it's so tricky to deal with and the pace is so fast. I was like, this could get out of control to the point where we're chasing the game and can't be running the ball the way we're supposed to. And all of a sudden the entire game is on Carson Beck's right shoulder. And I really don't want to hear anymore about how Carson Beck still has the zip on his fastball. He does not. It's very obvious. And this guy is thrown into triple coverage. Like, he shouldn't be allowed to throw to anyone except for Malachi Toney. Like,
right.
Just make the entire plane out of Malachi Toney and occasionally CJ Daniels, and that's it.
The best throw of the year from Carson Beck was the one that CJ Daniels grabbed with one hand. I think that was Notre Dame, right? That was the opening game. So yeah. That was like the signature throw of his season. And
that was a terrible throw.
Bad throw.
It was a horrible decision. It should have been a pick 6.
Right. Yeah. He was double covered and it was over his head. And he just came down with this crazy catch. It was a Cristobal special to defer on the kickoff. He resorted to his like worst habits, which is don't play to win, play not to lose. And that's what it felt like against Louisville. And you just, between that, my biggest fear coming out of it, again, and I had to talk my dad off the ledge here with the Hurricanes because I was like, well, there goes the season. I'm like, it's not the same. They still were going to always have to win the ACC championship game no matter what. And it's still a 12-team playoff. Like, they could still win this thing. I still think they're one of the best teams in college football, as long as this isn't Carson Beck turning into a pumpkin and it's just like a one-off from him. And with the with the Heisman Trophy chatter now just gone, I hope that the pressure is off.
Ridiculous in the first place.
Yes,
he's like the 3rd best player on his own team at best.
On his own offense,
yeah,
at best, yeah. So we'll see what happens with the Hurricanes. Are you giving up, or where are you?
No, I'm not giving up. Like, the team is still very good. It's just you have to go 6-0 now, otherwise it's over.
You got to basically go 6-0. You got to win the ACC championship game, and
I don't know if you have to win the best teams. If you go 11-1 and don't make the ACC championship game, I think you probably still get in. Like, they only dropped to number 9. If they go 6-0 down the stretch of the season, they probably move up into like the 4, 5, 6 range because teams are gonna lose. So I think even if you don't get to the ACC championship game in that situation, you probably still make the playoffs.
Jared Dubin, the author of Last Night in Basketball, better at guessing offensive ratings in order than I am. Thanks so much for jumping on the show, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate you.